So in this final video, what we are going to be looking at is whether it's possible to detect long-term changes in plant communities by doing some very simple vegetation surveying in the same way at two different times. And what I'm going to introduce you to is a data set that was first collected by a gentleman called Ronald Good in the 1930s, from 1930 to 1939, and then resurveyed 7 decades later by a group of us from Bournemouth University and the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology. And I'm actually going to be providing you with some of the raw data that those two surveys generated and give you the opportunity to explore them in the same way that we have done and look to see what you can gain in terms of being able to compare those two plant communities, or those plant communities in two time periods. And there's two questions associated with this little exercise. These are they here. And I think with something like this in particular, where you've got a huge data set and there are so many questions that you can ask, it's probably really worth thinking about it, focusing your exploration around answering these two questions. I think generally that is a good discipline to start to develop as you're moving towards, slowly but surely, gathering your own dissertation data. And you might very well find yourself in the future faced with also having to analyse a great big data set and thinking about what sort of questions are the key questions to pull out of it. So these are the two that I'd like to concentrate on for this bit of work here. So just a bit of an introduction to Ronald Good. He was an amazing botanist, one of the very first ecologists that there ever was, and he recognised really early on, just before the Second World War, the importance of being able to collect decent records of plants. He could see that they were already starting to disappear, and he thought it was really important to be able to record what the state of the situation was then. And he put in this most massive effort. He collected plants from all over Dorset, not just about the whole of Dorset, and you can sort of see some of the like mind-blowing statistics there of just how much work he put into this. And it's a really unique and detailed flora. You don't get this anywhere else, not only not in the country but not in the world. And the timing was amazing, because it's just before the big agricultural intensification that happened after the Second World War, with the advent of fossil fuels and so inorganic fertilizers. So this is the distribution of his sampling points. They were called stands, and they were just fragments of habitat that were at that time homogeneous. So he thought, right, I'm going to go and survey those habitats, and there they all are, and you can find them all online, and you could actually go and request the more detailed information from the Dorset Environment Records Centre, DERC. But actually, we are providing you with that full set of data here. So you've got the information already, and there is a huge amount of information. It's very, very simple information, as I'll describe in a moment, but don't let that fool you. Basically, the most simplest of simplest information, if you think about it carefully and you collect it in a way that you are able to analyse it, can yield some really nice insights. And we were able to produce some papers in some decent academic journals that were able to really show how the vegetation had changed in those very critical 70 year studies. So if you ever do want to read the papers themselves, they are here. But I wouldn't expect you to be doing that for this work here at all. What I'd like you to do for this work is to go and explore the data itself and have a little look at how you would go about answering those two key questions. You want to know a little bit about Biodiversity Action Plan, or Section 41 species, and I've given you some links there for them. They're the ones that we really care about. They're the ones that are declining and we think they're of conservation concern. And so if you do want to find out a little bit about those species, you can find them there. The Section 41 are part of a succession that moved on beyond Biodiversity Action Plan as part of the 2010 Biodiversity Framework. But in both sets of lists give you a very good sense of species we still care about. So if you go and have a little look at the data itself, I have given you them in the form in which we've collected them. Good only collected for each of those fragments whether a species was there. That was the only thing he recorded. He didn't record any measure of abundance at all. So we just know for each of those fragments a list of species. So there's absolutely no point us surveying more intensely when the alternative was to be able to survey more of his fragments. So, I had a summer with some help of some lovely students, and we just went out and visited as many heathlands as we possibly could and repeated good survey, which was to just draw up a big list of species, or in some cases not as big as we would have liked. But we could have spent lots of time recording the percentage cover, but that wouldn't have allowed us to compare it with Good's data any better because he just had a big list of species, and it would have taken us a lot more time, so we would have been able to sample fewer of his total number of fragments. So that was our decision to do exactly what he did. And so what you have here is the whole record. It goes on and on and on all the way down for a long, long way, and it goes down longer than that as well. So what you've got here is some filters in place. So in this particular, the reason that it stopped just there was that I had just selected the grasses. But if you select all and do OK, now when you go down, keeps on going and going and going and going and going and going, and eventually you're going to get to heaths, and then you'll get to, look at this, it's still right up here. There's absolutely thousands of these quadrats, heaths, and then woods down at the bottom. And you've also got it filtered into the different survey years, and you can show both of them, which is what I'm showing now, or you can choose, so if you just filter out 2000s, then all of that 1931 there disappears off. So we put them back in again. And again, with species, you've got multiple copies of the species because, of course, they occurred in multiple stands. So Acer campestre, which is the field maple, occurred in the case of the whole survey. It occurred only these 3 times, and it was once in 2000, twice in 2000 and the 2000 survey, and once in the 1930 survey. This is sycamore. As you can see, the only time it was actually recorded was in our surveys, not in Good surveys. So you can have a little compare just to see how the 2 surveys match up. And there's some things that you can have a little play with. Perhaps I've picked out here in particular musk thistle because it's a lovely, lovely species that we know generally is in decline. And if you wanted to see what that's doing, what I can do is go to Find here and do a Find. Tap that in, find all. There we go. This is where it is then. Now I've got to have a little look. Here we go. These are the records for the musk thistle. I can close that down now. These are all the records for them. There we go. And it's a species that we're worried about, but a bit, not a lot. But look, there's still plenty of them. It's still turning up in 2000. As well as in the 1930s. So you can do a little compare really. Here we've got, for example, shepherd's purse. That wasn't recorded in the 1930s. It was recorded by us. Probably it was there, to be honest, in the 1930s. It's a very common species, but just because something wasn't recorded doesn't mean to say it wasn't there. That's the trouble with quick surveys, like looking at species presence. It doesn't tell you it wasn't there. It just tells you that it wasn't recorded. But it's just that if it's never there in any of the quadrats in one year, and it's there in all of the quadrats on all the stands in the other set of years, then that starts to tell you a broad signal. As I say, it's very basic data, but it's data that we were able to produce some really nice research with. So having a nice time playing with that. I'm not going to say anything more really, other than that there's you can be there for a long time. Please don't be there for a long time, but have a go and see how you get on with answering those questions that we have. So let's not save any changes, and that's a lot. So I hope you've enjoyed those lectures, and I hope that you enjoy having a go at doing the data analysis. I do wish that we could have been able to be out there together actually looking at real plants, but it was not to be, and I hopefully will be able to do that again sometime in the future. Those of you who didn't like plants, you had a lucky escape. Okay, all the best. Bye.